Standards Committee meeting for today. This meeting will be recorded and will be then placed on the council's website after the meeting. It'll be live streamed and recorded today, and then we'll place it on the website for archiving after the meeting. Could I please ask that everybody who wishes to speak uses the raise your hand function on their laptop on the Teams software to speak. If there are issues, you can please use your chat facility or raise your hand on screen if you're on camera. We would request that you limit the use of the chat facility during the meeting and that all discussions are actually undertaken within the meeting. That's for the benefit of the public who will not be able to see the chat if they're viewing the meeting today. I would now like to hand over to the chair, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to this special standards committee. If you'll recall, last time we had a lot of late applications for dispensation, so we decided to put them over to today. So part one, are there any apologies for absence?
Richard, can I just say I can't see you on screen?
No, I can't.
Okay.
I just noticed that.
You're not missing much, but don't worry.
Carol should pick you up. He's picking up earlier, isn't he?
Here called the owl, which is meant to move around and pick up the speaker.
You're on earlier. Apologies, he was on earlier. Yeah, seeing it's on.
Oh, I can see some light. Not the blue lights.
Can you?
That looks promising. Oh, I can see Richard on
There we are.
screen.
Can you see me now?
No.
Yes. Ah,
You're on the
Mrs. Tinsley, you can you?
I can see half of you.
Oh, right. Is it the good half or the bad half? Well, don't answer that. All right. Well, yes, on this
You
screen.
can see the
Yeah.
screen on the chamber. So that makes this legally compliant.
Okay,
So,
no worries. Well, perhaps we'll progress. Firstly, the first item, apologies for absence. Are there any?
No, Chair, I haven't been sent any apologies.
Okay. Otherwise, I think it's a full house with the exception of Councillor Birch, who I believe is away. Is that right?
That's right, Chair. If in the meantime I do get apologies, as members are aware, the decision notice of meetings is 7 days after the meeting. If I get apologies in the meantime, I will add those into the decision notice.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The next item, to receive declarations of interest. Are there any? Okay, yes, Councillor Franks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm always slow with the hand up, and I'm even slower with the hand down, so please bear with me. I have submitted applications today, which I'm sure members have seen, and I imagine I need to declare an interest in all those.
Yes, thank you. Are there any others? Mr. Watkins, do you want? Was there any? Do you have an issue, Mr. Watkins? You're on mute.
I have an issue with one of the applications. I'll simply withdraw when we come to it.
Which application is that?
That's item 2.1 on the agenda. One of the Dinas Powys applications.
Okay. Which one is it?
The first one on the list.
Okay. Well, maybe easier if we put that at the back then.
Thank you.
Deal with the others and come to that. Yes. Councillor Charles?
Oh, thank you, Chair. I had at the last meeting a personal and prejudicial interest as a Barry Town Councillor, and I remained in the meeting when the matter of dispensation applications relating to the council's reshaping transformation agenda was being considered, which is why I raise it now.
Right, okay, well, thank you for that. Yes, perhaps should have been raised at the meeting, but better late than never. Okay, well, I suppose the best thing is for us to leave Dinas Powys to the end, because we've got Councillor Franks as well.
Yes.
Yeah. What I asked Karen to do, and she'd kindly done, was to put it in some sort of order, so we had a group to deal with. But I think we'll move. We'll deal with items. I suppose you've got it as Appendix 3, which is Llandoch Institute. On the documents I've got, they're pages 12, 14, 16 and 18. Patricia Carriott, Michael Edwards, Dean Mears and Dr. Misra. Perhaps, Debbie, you can explain the nature of these applications and we can make a decision.
Yes, thank you. So this is Appendix 2, as the Chair's mentioned, which runs through from page 12 to page 19. We've had before us 4 applications. Each of them are to speak and vote. For those members who were on the committee prior to the election, they'll be familiar with the nature of these applications as we've previously dealt with these. The clerk to the Llandoch Community Council has apologised and advised that he isn't available to attend today, so he's been very helpful in providing some additional advice in respect of the applications. And what he has advised is that there are 5 principal trustees that serve on the Hall Management Committee, all of whom are community councillors.
Debbie, I'm sorry I have raised my hand. I can't hear you very well. You're breaking up. You sound as if you're on an iPhone to me. Has anybody else got a problem?
Yes, difficulties.
Okay.
Don't know then. This is obviously the same problem we had last time. Okay, I would suggest we go to Teams.
Yes.
Yeah. It looks like we've had the same problem that we had last time. Everyone, I'm really sorry about this.
Shall I have another go? Maybe if I...
Yeah.
You move closer to me.
I can hear everyone else crystal clear, by the way. It's only Debbie.
Oh, right. Well, I'll try again. I am actually sitting...
Debbie, that sounds fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Debbie, you
sitting
sound fine now.
on top of the owl. Right, okay. So we have 4 applications before us this morning. We will be expecting a 5th application, but the community councillor concerned has been unavailable for the last few weeks. We've had some additional information in from the clerk. The clerk has apologised that he isn't available to attend today's meeting, should there be any further queries from the committee. What I did mention is that those members of this committee who were on the committee prior to the 5th of May will be familiar with these applications, because we've dealt with similar applications the other side of the election. Helpfully, the clerk to Llandoch Community Council has provided some additional information by way of email. He's advised that there are 5 principal trustees that serve on the Hall Management Committee, all of whom are community councillors. There are some observers who attend the meeting, but they're not community councillors. The current chairman of the Hall Management Committee is Councillor Michael Edwards, and we've received an application, and it's in the agenda today from that councillor. The vice chairman is not appointed at this stage, but the immediate past chairman is Councillor Dr. Mo Misra, and the clerk is asking and saying that it would be very helpful and very much appreciated if Councillor Dr. Mo Misra and Councillor Michael Edwards are granted dispensations to speak and vote on the basis that otherwise the Community Council, when dealing with matters relating to the War Memorial Institute, would not be quorate. Now you'll see from the papers in front of you that all 4 of the Llandoch community councillors have in fact requested a dispensation to speak and vote, but it would be sufficient for number purposes in line with the clerk's email and also the manner in which we've dealt with these matters previously, if only two of the applications are granted on the basis of speaking and voting, and the other 2 to be dealt with on the basis of speaking only. So that would mean Patricia Carriott to speak only, and for Dean Mears to speak only. I've also clarified the position with my colleagues in electoral registration, and they have confirmed that of the 10 possible members on the Llandoch Community Council, there are only 6 currently in post following an uncontested election in May. So they're still awaiting to co-opt to the 4 further vacancies. You'll see that the application is for the full term of office, so that's up until the next ordinary election, and also each application is citing ground A under the regulations, and that is that no fewer than half of the council or the committee, the council, as the case may be, by which the business is to be considered, has an interest which relates to that business. So they satisfy, certainly on the numbers that are available from electoral registration, they satisfy that ground, and I would recommend that the applications in respect of Michael Edwards is agreed, and with regards to Dr. Misra, but that with regard to Patricia Carriott and with regards to Dean Mears, that the application is to speak only.
Right, we will follow that. So it's Carriott and Mears speak only, Edwards and Misra to speak and vote. Are there any questions or points? Mr. Alexander?
Thank you. I'm just unmuting. I do hope that you can hear me clearly. Thank you for that careful explanation, Debbie. I'm bound to say I'm slightly confused, and this may be because I wasn't listening carefully enough to the position in relation to Dr. Misra. Is he actually an extant chair at the moment who's coming to the end of his term as of office? I'm just anxious to understand that precisely, please.
Yeah. The position, as per the email from the clerk to the Community Council, is that a vice chairman is not appointed, but the immediate past chairman is Councillor Dr. Mo Misra. So the extant chairman is Councillor Michael Edwards. So it would appear at this stage that the appointment of a vice chairman is pending, but there is a possibility, albeit a decision hasn't been made yet by the trust, that possibly Dr. Mo Misra could be the vice chairman.
Okay, Mrs. Tinsley.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, it is very helpful to have the matters set out in this way so that we do have a summary. I'm just a little concerned. Are the 2 councillors who are having their applications amended aware of the amendment, and is that the way we're dealing with this, so that they in fact don't vote and speak, or is it a matter that the clerk is putting forward as an option? I wasn't quite clear on where we were at with that.
Well, it's their application to speak and vote, and Debbie's recommendation is that it's speak only. I mean, we could reject that and go for speak and vote if you like.
No, that wasn't my point. I was just, when I was listening to, I was of the understanding that we were, I personally am very comfortable with 2 of the applicants being speak and vote and 2 being speak only, but are they aware that that's being proposed by the clerk?
I'm not aware of whether that has been shared by the clerk with the applicants. However, what I can advise is the applicants are the same applicants that presented applications prior to the May elections, so they will be aware that they were granted a dispensation to speak only, if that assists.
That does, thank you, that's helpful.
I think if we can give an explanatory note with that, if they're dissatisfied, perhaps they can come back. Okay.
And if I can just add, I think the manner in which the applications were dealt with previously, certainly we had received no correspondence from the clerk or from the members saying that it had caused any administrative difficulties, so I think it had been sufficient for their purposes. Good.
Any other points? No. So are we in favour of following that recommendation? Everybody seems to be nodding. Good. Thank you very much. So those 4 are dealt with. I think we'll deal with reshaping at the end. So we'll deal with the individual applications, which starts at 20. The first one is Vincent Driscoll with regard to Holton Road. He owns a property there, and he would like to speak and discuss. Well, I think it's speak only, but it's either speak or speak and vote. Debbie, I think he made an application last time, didn't he?
He did, yes. So members who were on this committee prior to the elections will recall that a similar application was received. I think it might have been to speak and vote at that time, but as the chairman points out, Councillor Driscoll is only seeking an application to speak, and that was in line with the application previously. We did have quite a detailed discussion previously, particularly given the fact that those members of the committee who are familiar with Barry will know that Holton Road is a very long road in Barry, and indeed Councillor Driscoll property, he refers to in his application, he's the director of the company that owns the property in Holton Road. Certainly he owns the property at 50 Holton Road, but depending upon the nature of the business at any given time which is being considered by the committee, it may be that in fact Councillor Driscoll doesn't have a personal prejudicial interest in the matter, and the way that we dealt with this application previously was to grant the application to speak only, but within the letter to Councillor Driscoll, we did recommend that when there were matters relating to Holton Road which were not within the immediate vicinity of his property, and in which he felt that he didn't have a personal and prejudicial interest, that he should seek advice and guidance from my colleagues in Democratic Services and indeed myself. So members of the committee will be familiar that an application for dispensation is only relevant if the member has a personal and prejudicial interest. So I think that has assisted in giving some comfort that it might be some matters relating to Holton Road would not fall within a personal prejudicial interest. So I certainly would support the application to speak only for the full term of the current council, so up until the next ordinary election. The grounds which are being relied on, E, F and D, if I just take you through those. So E, and the circumstances and grounds are set out in the final page of the agenda. E is the interest is common to the member and a significant proportion of the general public. I don't think that can be satisfied, because certainly a significant proportion of the general public wouldn't own a property in Holton Road, so I don't think that can be satisfied. F, the participation of the member in the business to which the interest relates is justified by the member's particular role or expertise. I think that certainly is relevant, so you may wish to have regard to that when considering this matter. And the third ground being relied on is D, the nature of the member's interest is such that the member's participation in the business to which the interest relates would not damage public confidence in the conduct of the council's business. And I think as the members merely asking for a dispensation to speak, I think you might feel that that is satisfied. I think it might be a different matter if it was an application to speak and vote.
Thank you. So your recommendation is D and E, and it is to speak only.
In line with the application.
I think the difficulty is that we had before, that Holton Road is such a large road that if it was some development at one end, it really wouldn't affect him at all. If it was at the other end and improved his properties, obviously it would. Are there any questions on that? Any issues? Yes, Mrs. Hallett? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Well, whilst Mrs. Hallett is unmuting, can I just clarify it's F and D? Ground E is the interest in common with the significant proportion.
It's F and D.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my query, whether F applied. Thank you.
For F and D, beg your pardon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll follow the recommendation there. Everybody happy with that? Good, thank you very much. The next at page 22 and 24 are Councillor Frank's application, so we'll pass over those for the time being. We'll now move on to 26, which is Ian Johnson. Spoke on and vote on matters relating to arts and events within the Vale of Glamorgan. He then has another application, matters relating to sports facilities within the Vale, and to speak and vote on matters relating to the community centres as a trustee appointed by the Vale and a member of the Barry Town Council. Yes, Debbie.
So with regards to the first application at page 26, I don't have any further comments. Again, it's for the whole term of the current council, so up until next ordinary elections. The grounds being relied on, C, D, F and G, so just to remind you, C is members' inability to participate would upset the political balance of the council. D is the participation would not damage public confidence. F is the participation of the member is justified by the member's particular role or expertise. And G is the registrable interest relates to business which is to be considered by the scrutiny committee, and indeed Councillor Ian Johnson is a member of the relevant scrutiny committee. So I'd recommend that the application is supported.
Right. Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we move on to his application to sports, because he's a member of Barry Town United and Caddiston Barry.
And similarly,
Denner Park.
Yes, similarly, comments in respect to his first application
are
mirrored for the second application.
Yeah. And any problems with that? No? We're happy to proceed on that. Good, thank you. And then finally, the Vale, as a member of a trustee appointed by the Vale and a member of Bury Town Council. He's the trustee and it's the community centre.
Yeah.
No problem.
I don't have a problem with this as such. The one point that I would raise, and I think worth clarifying or just raising with Councillor Johnson on a point of in line with the Code of Conduct, is that I note that he refers to the fact that he's a trustee appointed by the council, and within the Code of Conduct, of course, members have attended the training on the Code of Conduct. There is a provision, there are exceptions as to when an interest does not equate to a prejudicial interest, and one of those exceptions is that it relates to business, where that business relates to a body to which you have been elected, appointed or nominated by your authority. So on the face of the application, Councillor Johnson is referring to the fact that he has been appointed by the council. So whether it strictly requires application for a dispensation, certainly on the information that has been presented, it would appear that the exception to the prejudicial interest applies in this particular case. I would suggest, I don't have an issue with the application on the basis that he has been appointed by the council. You might wish to consider granting the application, but also just making that particular point within the letter, so that there's that appreciation of the provision within the Code of Conduct.
But what you're saying is that really this is unnecessary. It
would appear on the face of it, but what I wouldn't want to find is that possibly the councillor has maybe made an error in that respect. But
well,
I
think we ought to clarify it. I mean, it does seem to me rather strange that if you are appointed by the council to the community centre, that you can't then go along and you can't speak and you can't vote. It seems illogical, doesn't it? And I would have thought my brief interpretation would be that wouldn't be necessary, and perhaps we could clarify that. Sorry, there's
I just wondered, and I was just seeking clarification from Debbie, and Debbie may want to put that forward to members. In my thought, I was thinking, as a member of Bury Town Council, there may be issues regarding the community centre that Councillor Johnson is thinking could come up there, and as he's not appointed by the Bury Town on the community centre, and I'm not sure if he is, then maybe that's one of the reasons why he's applied. I don't know if Councillor Charles can advise on that, but I was just thinking that maybe that's why he's put the application in, to cover himself on both councils.
Councillor Charles, do you have a view?
No, I have no view. No, not really. I mean, I think that if he is appointed by Bury Town Council or by the Vale of Glamorgan, then, you know, it is for a reason, to steer and guide, and I think that he should go along with being able to say yes or no and vote.
Sure. Okay.
If I can assist there, I think that does assist. Obviously, I haven't had an opportunity to liaise with Councillor Johnson, but yeah, I would suggest that when considering it, to make that distinction. So, albeit the and it's quite convoluted, isn't it? Albeit the Members' Code of Conduct would enable him to rely upon the exemption with regards to that business before the Vale of Glamorgan Council. There is that that gap, isn't there, with regards to the town council. So I think treating it as two limbs, I think, would assist.
I think we can say it's granted, and we'll leave it to our learned clerk, as the lawyers say, to explain it. Okay, Susan Lloyd Selby. This is in particular with healthy living and social care, because multiple family members are in receipt of telecare support. One family member in receipt of a care package.
Yes, and this is quite an interesting application. So Councillor Lloyd Selby is declaring a personal interest. Of course, as you know, we deal with personal and prejudicial interests. So as a personal interest, if it was only personal interest, she would be able to speak. Within the application, level of dispensation sought depending on the issue to speak and vote, and if the issue is prejudicial, to speak only. It is only a speak only application. I certainly would support this application. It is until the next council elections. Round C, D and F are being relied upon. C being would accept the political balance if she wasn't able to speak. It isn't an application to speak and vote. D, it would not damage public confidence, and F, justified by the member's particular role or expertise. I think D and F are of particular relevance here.
Yeah. So she's got this application perfect. She must be well trained, I think. So depending on the issue, to speak and vote. If the issue is prejudicial, to speak only. Everybody happy with that application? Yes? Yeah. Thank you. Derek Wilmot. Speak but not vote on matters relating to St Athan Community Hub and Library. Speak only. It's a small community-led charity and is in discussion with St Athan Community Council with regard to a joint venture. Granting of a dispensation will enable business to be conducted expediently. It's going to be expeditiously. Right. Any problem with that?
I don't have any further issues. It is only an application to speak only. Round I has been relied upon his standards to be in the interest of the inhabitants of the area. The council that the disability should be removed. And again, it's until the next council elections. Yeah, I've no further comments. I think we've previously granted some applications to speak only.
We'll be happy with that.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Mark Wilson, page 36, 38 and 40. Firstly, speak on matters relating to Penarth Fair Trade Forum. Speak on matters there. As a member of the Cabinet and Council, should receive dispensation owing to knowledge of fair trade. Oh, I'm chair of the Fair Trade Forum. And then Glyndŵr Hall Committee. The Secretary of Glyndŵr Hall Management, and speak on matters relating to Cardiff and Vale College. I am chair of a recognised trade union for UCU and employee. My wife is a governor of the college and a fellow cabinet member. Right. When it says cabinet member, his wife, who is that?
I'm Councillor Birch, Leon Birch.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, okay. But Councillor Birch isn't here, so it doesn't have to declare an interest. Okay, yes, what's the position of this application?
So I've no further comments. I think they're fairly straightforward. They are applications to speak only up until the next ordinary elections, and in respect of each of the applications, round D, F, G and I are being relied upon. D, being would not damage public confidence. F, justified by the member's particular role. G, the registrable interest relates to business which is to be considered by the scrutiny committee of the council, albeit the member is a cabinet member, is not on scrutiny committee, with the commissioner the chair of the scrutiny committee. They could be permitted to speak, and I, it appears to the stands committee to be in the interest of the inhabitants of the area. So particularly D, F and I, but G would also have a relevance, but I have no further observations in respect of the three applications.
Thank you.
Debbie, could I also mention that if he was, if there was a call in on a matter, he would have to go to a committee to speak anyway.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that the members are fully aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any issues with Ms. Councillor Wilson? Yes, Mrs. Howard.
And just what is the fair trading? Sorry, the fair trading forum, Penarth Forum. But what actually is that?
Well, I don't know, but I would imagine it's trying to bring fair trade, you know, with recycling, trading, you know, fair trade bananas and fair trade and
Spot on.
Yes,
stuff like that.
Projects, isn't
Yes.
it?
Spot on, Chair.
And it's with a proper price for for produce.
Yes. Okay, happy? Good. Okay, so subject to that, are those all approved?
Yes.
Thank you. Good. Right, so that leaves us with the reshaping of Dinas Powys, reshaping of St Athan, and Mr. Councillor Franks's two other applications. How should we deal with this? I think can we trust Mr. Watkins to go mute or
no, Chair?
No. Sorry.
Councillor Mr. Watkins, I'm afraid you would have to leave
Yes.
the meeting. I can request you to rejoin at the appropriate time once we've finished.
No, if there's no quorum problems, I can withdraw from the meeting now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you wish to deal with Councillor Franks's applications in Appendix 3 at this stage.
So how are we going to deal with?
Yes. Now, obviously, Councillor Franks would need to leave when dealing with those.
Yeah.
But it might be, as Councillor Franks is here, that if there are any queries by other members of the committee with regards to Councillor Franks' applications prior to him leaving, now would be a good opportunity to ask those questions.
Right. Okay, so we'll deal with Councillor Franks' two private applications first of all. We'll look at them. If we've got any questions, Councillor Franks can deal with those questions, and then we'll ask him to leave the meeting when we vote. Is that fair, Debbie?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
And then I'll request that Councillor Franks rejoins shortly after. I'll just send you a request to join invite, Councillor Franks, and you can just join back in. So.
Well,
okay.
What are we going to do?
Yes, that's fine. But don't forget to, if you need to phone me on my private phone number rather than anything else.
Okay.
Then he's going to be needed for reshape.
Can you do me a favour? Can you pop that in an email to me, please, to make sure I've got the correct one?
Okay.
Use your Vale one now at the moment, don't we? The one that's on the website. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can I also just add another line in the ointment? That obviously Councillor Franks has an application in Appendix 1. So certainly with regards to the reshaping application, obviously Councillor Franks have a personal prejudicial interest in that matter as well. So I think certainly once we deal with the queries relating to Councillor Franks's applications at Appendix 3, that when Councillor Franks leaves the meeting, it might be that you don't need to rejoin. So
if Councillor Franks then leaves and Mr. Watkins will still be for it, and we can deal with the rest.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
we will.
In that case, I will leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're going to deal firstly with Councillor Frank's applications, which can be found at 22 and 24. The first one is to speak and vote on matters relating to Dinas Powys Library and Activity Centre. He's the voluntary chair of trustees. It's a small community-led charity. Issues relating to community libraries will likely to be discussed by Vale and Community Council. And then the Dinas Powys Voluntary Concern, where he is vice chair of the trustees of Dinas Powys Voluntary Concern. Perhaps you would outline then those applications, and then if there are any questions or.
Yes, it might be, as we've got Councillor Franks with us, if you want to add anything to your application, particularly the one query that I had was particularly with regards to Grant H that is being relied upon as part of the application. Grant H provides that the business relates to the finances or property of a voluntary organisation whose management committee or board member is a member, otherwise than as a representative of the council. So I just wanted to clarify that in respect of those applications, that you're not a representative of the council. So that's the first query.
Well, do you want to deal with that?
I'm not a representative of the council. I'm a voluntary member of the library trustees.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, so that also applies to the second application with regards to Dinas Powys voluntary concerns. Yes.
Correct. Yes. And I'm sorry. I am struggling a bit to hear Debbie. I can, but it is a bit of a strain. But okay. Let's carry on.
Okay.
If I just carry on with regards to Grant H, that provides that the member has no other interest in the business. So I'm assuming you have no other interest with regards to business to which you're making the application.
Correct.
Yes, thank you. And then Grant H goes on to say, provided that any dispensation shall not extend to participation in any vote with respect to that business. So I can see the application before us is to speak and vote, but Grant H, and in light of the comments that you've made, would only permit the committee to consider the application on the basis of speak only. Did you want to make any comments in that regard before the committee moves into private session?
No, obviously it's more attractive to be able to speak and vote, but if that's the guidance, fine. I just wanted to make sure I stay on the right side of the rules, so that's why I think I put H in. Sometimes, and I know I should know this now, it's sometimes difficult to interpret which letters you should put, and I prefer to speak and vote, but if that's your guidance, fine.
Are there any further
No,
questions?
unless there are any questions of Councillor Franks. No. Right. So, Councillor Franks, I'd ask you now to leave the meeting.
So I now shut the machine down, and I'm about to send Karen my mobile number. Is that correct?
But did I get that correct, Debbie?
Well,
you were actually suggesting that Councillor Franks does not come back at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think there's any need for you to come back.
Oh.
Well,
yeah.
It'll be complicated because we're going to deal with your application and the reshaping as well.
Okay. Okay.
Again,
well, nice to see you all. Sorry, some of you are poorly, and look forward to seeing you in the autumn term.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay. when we know, it looks as if he's left, Councillor Franks has now left the meeting.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't follow that last point. If he hadn't made an application under H, would he have been able to speak and vote?
No.
Right.
Because albeit he wouldn't have submitted it as part of his application, it still would have been an issue which the committee would have needed to have regard to. Certainly it was he wouldn't have submitted it as part of his application, it still would have been an issue which the committee would have needed to have regard to. Certainly it was it was a point that needed to be clarified.
Yeah.
And in light of the clarification, the committee is restricted insofar as only being able to grant, if minded to grant it, to speak.
So the recommendation is that he's allowed to speak on both these applications.
That would be my recommendation.
Any issues on that? Rest of the committee? No?
Shall I run through the other grounds, because Councillor Franks is referring to ground D, which I think is satisfied, would not damage public confidence.
Yep.
Ground E, I don't think is satisfied, because that refers to the interest being in common with a significant proportion of the general public. I don't think that can be satisfied. F, justified by the member's particular role or expertise. I think that's satisfied. And G, that the matter might be the subject of consideration before a scrutiny committee. So I think that is satisfied, and also ground H is satisfied. So for the purposes of the minutes, and obviously the letter that follows on from the decision of the committee, I would recommend that the committee is granting it in line with D, F, G and H.
Okay, D, F, G and H, and that's in relation to both applications. Fine. Good. Now we'll move on to reshaping. We'll deal with Dinas Powys. You can hear the discussion, Mr. Watkins, but when it comes to a vote, then if you leave the meeting.
Well,
sorry?
He's on mute.
If there's no quorum problem, I can leave now.
I've been told that you should leave now.
Yes.
So thank you again for your attendance.
Thank you.
See you in September. Thank you very much. Right, so now we move on to reshaping. We've got 4 in relation to Dinas Powys and 1 in relation to St Athan. Yes, Debbie.
Yes, so members will see that if I deal with the grounds on which the applications are submitted, that with regards to Councillor Asprey, A, C, D and E are relied upon. If I deal with that initially, certainly E, as I've mentioned previously, refers to a significant proportion of the general public. I don't.
Sorry, can you just give us an indication on what the reshaping is, etc., and how this comes about? I think I've got an idea. I noticed that a lot of them have different grounds, but if we can see in principle if we're going to agree, and then we'll look at the grounds. Is that all right?
Yes.
Thank you.
As members are aware, we've considered similar applications at the last meeting and prior to the elections with regards to the council's reshaping agenda. This is the transformational agenda of the council, whereby we the particular relevance here, that the aspect of the agenda which is relevant for the members, is there is an ongoing dialogue with town community councils, whereby functions, services potentially could be negotiated and reallocated to town and community councils to be delivered at a more local level. Because of that element of the reshaping transformational agenda for the council, members who are twin-hatted have a personal prejudicial interest when those matters are being considered by their town or community council.
Twin-hatted means they're members of both councils, so obviously, yeah, I can see the potential problem there. Right. Is your recommendation in principle that these are approved, but subject to the grounds?
If we could deal with them in turn, because I do have
okay.
A particular point.
Because I had noticed that a lot of them have different grounds. Right, so we'll deal with them now with the first one, which is Anna Esbury, who's, yes, ACDE.
Yes, so with regards to Ground E, that specifies the interest is common to the member and a significant proportion of the general public. So I don't think that ground is satisfied.
Right.
But A, C and D, if you're minded to grant it in line with similar applications,
yep.
Ground A, C and D are relevant. And if members wish, I can take you through those grounds again.
That's all right.
But I think we have that information.
So are we happy with that first application? And it'll be on grounds A, C and D. Good. We've then got Marianne Cope. Is it Cope? Is that the right?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right, Chair.
She's gone on the same grounds, A, C, D. So is that all right?
Yes. The point I'd make with regards to Councillor Coutts' application is that the application refers to the reshaping programme, the agenda, but then at the final sentence of the section of the application, which deals with the nature of dispensation sought, Councillor Coutts also then refers to and on any discussions re library services.
Yes. Sneaked in, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Chair, I was unable to get hold of Councillor Coutts to actually ask her to submit another application.
Right.
You know, so it could be split, so we've had to leave it in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think this is the difficulty because of the unavailability to get clarification in advance of the meeting. All members have been reminded as part of my training that they are encouraged to attend these meetings, yes, so that they can provide clarification to the committee when considering the applications to avoid possibly matters being deferred. But unfortunately, Councillor Coutts isn't available to attend this morning. My concern by the limited information available with regards to the library is, I suppose, taking up the point that I raised with regards to Councillor Franks, with regards to his application relating to Dinas Powys Library and Activity Centre. We don't have clarification as to whether Councillor Coutts has been appointed as a representative of the Dinas Powys Community Council. So what I would suggest, if members are happy to do so, is to consider the reshaping programme part of the application. I think certainly in line with Councillor Asbury's application, grounds A, C and D are relevant. It's an application up until the next ordinary election, but that with regards to that part of the application relating to the library service, that's not dealt with this morning, and that it's raised with Councillor Coutts the need for further clarification. Should she be minded to submit a further application?
That sounds very sensible. So we'll. The proposal is that we approve our application for reshaping on grounds A, C and D, but with regards to the library, we ask her to make a fresh application. Everybody happy with that? Yes? Okay, thank you very much. And then we've got Councillor Franks, who we've dealt with, and he's under ACD.
Oh, we've
No.
got Councillor
So Driscoll.
Oh, beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Skipped one, yeah. He's gone EDF, hasn't he? So
He has. E is that the interest is common to the member and a significant proportion of the general public, so that's certainly not satisfied. D is that it would not damage public confidence, I think that's fine. And F is it's justified by the member's particular role or expertise. Certainly, when granting this, members can have regard to the same grounds as the previous applications have been dealt with under, so that's A, C and D. Or you can just rely upon the one ground,
Yeah.
ground D, one ground is sufficient.
no, well, I think we ought to do it on ACD. Does everybody agree? And it'll be pointed out to him, because he, that these are the grounds that are applicable. If you can do that.
Mhm.
Thanks. And then Chris Franks, Councillor Franks, he's ACD application, presumably no problem there.
No problems there.
So are we happy that that can be approved? Good. And then we go on to reshaping of St Athan, which is at page 10. Again, this Lynch Wilson,
It's the same principle,
it's
Chair.
the same principle,
Yeah.
and it's ACD, the same application. So presumably no problems
No,
with that.
no.
Everybody happy with that? Good. And I think that deals with all of the applications.
Yes, Chair.
It's interesting, I've been told that there were late applications for today, but we as a committee last time had said we're not going to entertain any, just to try and make sure that they complied properly. But even after that warning, there are still applications outstanding, so they'll have to be told that they haven't got dispensation until their applications are considered at the next meeting. Good. Is there anything else, Debbie? No? Anything else, Karen?
No, Chair, what I would like to ask though is once we've stopped the recording, would the members stay on for me though on the Teams meeting for a couple of minutes?
Yes.
Please.
Okay.
So I can stop the recording now,
Yes,
Chair?
thank you very much for today. And
We can stop the live streaming at the same time.
yes, thanks.
Okay.